I think when we want to make big changes in life, we kind of like ask ourselves, why are we doing what we're doing? And, is it good enough reason to actually go and do it? And that was like one of the biggest things or the biggest problems that I had when I first wanted to make changes because, like, I knew that I wanted to be able to work at home and I wanted to be around the family more than that. Because I worked in construction, I was going out early, I was coming home late, pretty much Monday to Saturday. And I knew through this life that I just wasn't going to be spending like time with the kids and that lot. And I wanted to be a lot more of a hands-on dad. I wanted to be around, if there was like plays on during the day or stuff like that there was no issues with me actually like being able to turn up for it. I could go to sports day, I'd be able to take the kids out after school. And that was just sort of kind of like the life that I knew that I wanted to live. But I personally did not have the skills to actually be able to work from home. So I was kind of like doing it off of a whim. But I just had this burning desire that it was like the right thing to do. Like it's just something inside me that was the right way to actually go. So for me personally, so when I made my change, that was my major why of, I want to spend more time with the kids. I'm going to make it work. So I went from like the construction thing. Now, like I said, I didn't have the skills or nothing whatsoever. There was no camera or anything else like that. I didn't know how to use Lightroom. I wasn't making videos or anything else like that. I basically just gave up and tried like doing streaming and other things like that. I was pretty much failing at pretty much everything, I'm going to be honest. But I obviously needed to bring in bills at the same time as well. So I was working like part-time in KFC and I was doing some night work on the doors as well. Now, the reason that I was doing like the nights and stuff like that and a few short hours, that I was doing that just like the KFC when the kids were in school. I didn't really worry about it apart from that. And then I did mainly like the door work in the night. So like when the kids were asleep in bed, I'd go to work and then I'm pretty much an early morning riser. It doesn't bother me if I get like 4 hours sleep and that I can bounce out of bed and just carry on through the day. So I could do 2-3 nights on that and I was totally fine. So I was bringing in the money. I was spending time with the kids and I was at home most of the time, apart from just doing, like I say, a few hours or so in KFC. But I was establishing like the dream. Do you know what I mean? I was making it kind of like happen in a way. And I just kept on going through and I was trying lots of different things. A lot of things just weren't working out or nothing else like that. But it wasn't until like I picked up a camera that I really started to like kind of like find my feet because I learned Lightroom. And then I started learning Photoshop. And then when I was doing Photoshop, I kind of like found my creative side. And I was really enjoying myself. So I was making like fantasy images and things like that. And then I decided, take photos of, people's kids. I could put them in the fantasy images or so. It didn't matter. Some of them were just like normal ones that ideas that I come up with. Some of them were like Spider-Man and other things. And that done all right. And I was making that, but also that didn't feel quite right as well because I was just constantly just making the same things over and over again. But I was bringing in money and I was, working at home. And it was enough for me to actually keep my dream alive and just keep me going. But there was also something missing that. It just didn't feel that this was still the thing for me. But it's only when I started really getting into photography and that I really started finding my feet. And I really then started making little vlogs with the family and stuff like that. And that's where I really started finding my own feet and my own goals in life. Now, don't get me wrong, as soon as I started setting myself on a path that I knew that I actually wanted to go on, it wasn't easy at all. There was a lot, I had a lot of doubts and stuff. And I was trying to become something that I wasn't, so to speak. So basically what I was trying to do was, especially when especially early Instagram and that, a lot of it was all these beautiful landscapes and all this stuff. And I felt like that's the photos that I needed to take. I had to be there for sunrise, sunset, do all these kind of things. But secretly, it didn't really interest me too much at all. There was no substance in it. And I just thought, I'd just be an influencer and all these things. But my heart wasn't in it. So I didn't make it work, so to speak. So, but I did also, though, enjoy the vlogs and that with my family, and I got so many of them that even they were rubbish, no one watched them or anything else, but they're good stories to keep at home, which is absolutely amazing. But then I started really finding like my passion and stuff like that as I was progressing through using a camera, making videos and that, like, even though I didn't really realize it at the time. And it's expanded into something completely different. So like back then it was just like my wife was just wanting to work at home. Now my kids are a little bit older and that. But like for me personally, I felt like the social media has changed and that I've got so many like different ways of what I want to do, that even though it's a lot of work I'm trying to learn, especially a lot of colouring and that lot for like DaVinci Resolve and other things like that for video and stuff, because I absolutely love video, but I also love telling stories. And that's how I love the way that like social media and things are going. And now I've just gone from like that, you know, the simple basic why you want to be at home, you know, spend time with the kids, that, you know, that most people generally want, that I've kind of like expanded from that like, I've got to this point now that there's no going back to like a normal job or anything else like that or anything. I'm so set in what I want to do now, and I have so many different like whys, so to speak, of all the things that I want to do, from like traveling because I didn't get to do it when I was a kid and that, and just to like, you know, tell stories, to generate money, to build like YouTube, you know, accounts and that lot. There's so many different ways, and also with that as well is to show also like hopefully to grow with these kind of things and that like, because obviously my daughter's grown up with me trying all these different things and that lot. And even though like I've been a hands-on dad, I'd probably say one of the biggest strengths for me is being a dad, because I really enjoy it. Do you know what I mean? I love being there for my kids as much as I possibly can, spending time with them and that lot. I absolutely love it. You know, I put that before anything, like people going out or drinking. It doesn't interest me whatsoever. I'd much rather spend as much time, you know, playing with the kids, taking them waterfalls, we go cliff jumping, all that kind of thing. So that side of myself, like, it's always been great. And it's something that, like, is feeded into my daughter. She knows, like, I'm always there and I'll spend time with her. But then also, I know also that she's seen me start and stop and trying and failing all the time with this kind of thing, and it hasn't quite panned out the way that it's actually worked. And I kind of like felt that I've needed like the stars to align. And now that the way social media is moving away from, you know, like all this, you know, highly polished and kind of like the fake, the kind of like lifestyle sort of thing, to more authenticity, you know, telling stories and just being yourself sort of thing, that is kind of like now got to a point where that I've kind of like built my skills up in this kind of area, that now that I can actually like grow as a person. Do you know what I mean? And like the stars have aligned, so to speak, you know, like social media, the YouTube thing, side of things, absolutely perfect the way I do it. I built up all the skills using a camera, filming and that. And I feel like now that's one of my, like my biggest why is that through the years of like, you know, if things going wrong and things cocking up and my daughter seeing like, oh, you're doing videos, no one watches them, or you're giving up and that lot, you see that when I come out the other side, that something that she can hold on to, you know, right? So he's gone through all those years of struggle. Now look how good he is. Like, people watch his videos. He earns money. He supports us. He travels. He takes us places and stuff like that. And to see, like, you know, through all like failures to being a success. Do you know what I mean? And I think that's probably one of my biggest whys. And then also, you know, like, you know, to put my wife onto like a different course as well. Like, she's been highly supportive over these years and that lot. And, you know, to take her to those kind of those places that I've always said that we're going to be doing, you know, and that when the kids move out, because like my stepson's 25, he's gone. My daughter's like 17, she's highly independent and that lot. She wants to drive and that lot of stuff, so she's doing driving. So she's doing all this. So all this is going on. So they're going to be doing their complete own thing. So it's going to be like me and her. And, you know, I don't want to be like, you know, us living in the same town doing the same sort of thing. It's more about, you know, going places, traveling. But it's also not just like this travel influencer kind of thing. But it's, you know, just tell stories and, you know, it gives something back, you know, give information back. Because I love it when you go on holiday and you see things and that lot, and everyone takes photos of the same sort of locations. You know, they all look fantastic and it looks amazing. But I'm always fascinated by behind the history of those sort of places and that lot. So I've got now like a million different whys. I've got like everything's growing behind me. I feel like I'm building up the skills, and everything's just kind of like developed into what it is at the moment. And I feel that is, don't know, an amazing thing, really. Kind of like it's like snuck up on me in some regards, because like when we first set off and we want to do things, we want to make these big changes. And like I said at the beginning of the video, is that why at that particular time big enough to actually make those changes? But even when you do, I mean, there are some people that are fortunate enough that, if they've got, say, like a particular skill set, or they're highly confident in what they're doing, they know exactly the direction they're going to, that they plow into it. Within months, they're earning good money, they're off doing it. And I see that with plenty of like videographers and that lot, and I take my hat off to them and that lot. I'm always one of these people that I feel that everything needs to be perfect for me to actually go and do these things, when they don't need. I always feel like I need the right gear, or I need this and that. And that's a mindset that I've managed to get myself out of now. And for me personally, like now, although from those basic little, like why at the start, and then, failing, fucking God knows how many pissing times, going through loads of troubles, money troubles and that lot, up to this present moment in time, it's been a hell of a ride. But I also think that, like, sometimes, if things don't go well for you, and you want to jump ship and you want to do something else, and but you're adamant that this is what you want to do and why you want to do it, I think sometimes, though, you have to kind of like wait until the stars align. You got to follow your intuition and just trust yourself, because sometimes, like, it's not the right time. So maybe it's the time for you to build up your skills, learn how to, story tell, or I don't know, if you want to, be a carpenter or whatever, maybe I need to go and practice some woodwork skills or something like that. I think we have to use those times to actually, build up our skills or do other things. And then when the moment comes that we're ready to actually take it. And then for me personally, everything's lining up at the moment. Everything's brilliant. I could not be happier at the moment. I really, really couldn't. And it's just such a big thing that for me personally, over all my life, I've pretty much given up on everything, that I've found strong enough reasons to actually stick to goddamn what I want to do. I found what I want to do. Do you know what I mean? And there's no going back. Those bridges are burnt. We're not messing around. We're moving forward, and we're just growing. And it's even like with things like this, I could never talk to a camera, and I know I've probably repeated myself a couple of times. I've probably dragged this video on too long, and I know most people are probably not even watching right now. But you know what? I really don't care anymore. I like to make these videos off the cuff. I know I'll get better. I know I'll probably shorten them down. I'll probably concentrate on one thing and that lot and stuff. But at the moment, I'm just kind of like trying to find my feet. I'm trying to give back, information about, how you can do things you want to do, and trying to stick to the things you want to do. And I think sometimes it's nice to come from a person who's actually doing the things that people want to do. Do you know what I mean? Like making the changes, because we always hear the people at the end who, highly successful, yada yada, when I was thinking this lot. But I think sometimes it's quite nice to see someone who's actually, living it right now, who hasn't, got to the goals that he's meant to have got to. But anyway, I'm going to leave that one with you. Hopefully there was a good enough point in there. I was trying to make it about why. I think I kind of got around there. I do what I inherit, put out that, it is mainly just down to, having a strong enough reason, basically, just to go for your goals and just to stick with it. And even if it's not a straight line, it's wiggly, and you have to make changes, and that wasn't the thing for you, you have to move on to something else, just do it. Just keep trusting your instincts, keep pushing forward, and in the end, it's going to be all right. But anyway, I'll leave that one with you. I will be back next week. I think we're going to be focusing a lot more, talking about like filming and other bits and pieces, and career-wise, and that lot as we move forward, and we'll just see how it goes. But anyway, peace out. Thank you. Bye-bye.